Hello everyone and welcome back to the Synergy Sanctum. My name is Justin. Thank you so much for stopping by. Here at the Synergy Sanctum, we specialize in all things related to Magic the Gathering with a specific focus on deck building. So I aim to show you very quick deck techs that'll show you all of the cards in the deck and how they work together to ultimately achieve the goals of that deck. If you're not already, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate that. And we also have a sister channel now, so head on over to Commander Coliseum and check out their content as well. And for today's deck tech, we have another Halloween-themed deck with the Jolly Balloon Man. Pennywise is here, and this is an Enter the Battlefield budget build for the Jolly Balloon Man. Very, very affordable. TCG markets at $85 to $108, and we are focused on playing a bunch of ETB cards that get value off of entering the battlefield, and then making tokens of these with the Jolly Balloon Man so we can get additional value, some blink strategy. Got lots of good stuff to go into today. The Jolly Balloon Man says that he has haste, and for a single colorless mana, you can tap him to create a token that's a copy of another creature, except it's a 1/1 red balloon, in addition to its other colors and types, and it has flying and haste, and then you're going to get rid of that at the beginning of the next end step. You can only do this as a sorcery. So, like I said, we're going to be playing a ton of creatures in the deck, making copies of them, drawing a bunch of cards, getting additional value, and then ideally closing the game out once we're able to with combat or whatever we might have cooking here. Land count here is 35, with 20 of those being basics between mountains and plains, and 15 of those being non-basics. So, getting into it, we are going to go over our Enter the Battlefield suite of cards, starting with our draw cards. So we have lots of cards here that either draw a card when they enter or leave the battlefield. Wall of Omen, Spirited Companion, Helpful Hunter, and Inspiring Overseer across the top all draw when they enter. And then we've got two with Filigree Familiar and Circuit Mender, where they gain you life when they enter, and then when they die, they draw a card. So they're on the other end. And then Enduring Innocence cares about creatures that are 2 or less. You get to draw a card, and that ability only triggers once a turn, but when it dies as a creature, it comes back as an enchantment, so super solid there. And then this Eldrazi guy, Anti-Causal Vestige, for 6 mana, super expensive, but when he leaves the battlefield, you get to draw a card, then you get to put a permanent with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, and it has a warped ability of 4, so you can ideally warp this in for 4, copy it with the Jolly Balloon Man, and then get double triggers off of this. Just super broken here. And then we've got additional Enter the Battlefield effects with these 3 removal cards. So Lorn of the Third Path blows up an artifact or enchantment when it enters. It also lets you draw a card off of tapping it after. Meteor Golem blows up a non-land permanent, and then Skyclave Apparition says when it enters the battlefield, you get to exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with converted mana cost 4 or less, and when it leaves, it doesn't come back. It comes back as an XX Blue Illusion creature token, where X is the converted mana cost of that exiled card, so pretty decent there. Can remove a combo piece or something like that. And then we've got the ones that create mana in some form when they enter. So Solemn is getting you a land when he enters. Priest of Urabras, so good. He enters and immediately replenishes the 3 red you spent on him. Knight of the White Orchid and Loyal Warhound each fetch you planes. And then Patron of the Arts and Charming Scoundrel make treasures when they enter. So again, just picture Jolly Balloon Man. You're doubling up all of these triggers and creating additional tokens. And then we've got other good ETB or leave the battlefield effects here. So Ao, the Dawn Sky, is a dragon that when it dies, you get to choose one. You can either look at the top 7 cards of your library, put any number of non-land permanent cards with total mana value 4 or less from them on them onto the battlefield. You put the rest on the bottom, or you can put 2 counters on each permanent you control that's a creature. Super good here. And then Atsushi, the Blazing Sky, creates treasures when he dies, or he lets you get pseudo draw by exiling the top 2 cards of your library, and you can play those until the end of your next turn. Super solid. We've got tutors with Imperial Recruiter and Recruiter of the Guard. They let you go find creatures 2 or less and put them in your hand, which is the bulk of this deck. We've got Village Bellringer, which untaps all permanents you control, all creatures you control when he enters. Karmic Guide lets you bring something back when it enters, and then Trumpeting Carnosaur lets you discover 5, and Zealous Conscripts takes something and untaps that permanent. And then we've got a little bit of blink strategy in the deck with Eerie Interlude, which will blink all of your creatures. Restoration Angel only blinks 1 when it enters, and then Felidar Guardian also blinks 1 when it enters. The 1 blink isn't that bad because we're going to keep getting additional value off of the balloons from Jolly Balloon Man, so you're going to get to keep doing that kind of stuff. And then other good stuff in the deck, we got Sun Titan. When he enters, he brings something that's 3 or less back from the graveyard to the battlefield. Also when he attacks. Marvin Murderous Mimic, just going with this whole Halloween strategy here, but he does copy activated abilities of other creatures you control, so he can be another Jolly Balloon Man trigger here. Ghostly Prison to protect us, and then Eartha Joe Frontier Mentor is so good here. When she enters, she makes a mercenary, which isn't really that big of a deal, but the second ability says when you activate an ability that targets a creature or player, you get to copy it. So instead of just making 1 balloon, you're making 2. Arabella Abandoned Doll does damage when she attacks. And you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 2 or less. So late game with that board state, it's going to get pretty crazy. Panharmonicon is doubling up all of these ETB triggers. And then Agrus Cause Eternal Soldier is so good here. So when he becomes the target of an ability that targets only it, which could be the Jolly Balloon Man, you can pay 2, and if you do, you get to copy that ability for every other creature you control that it could target. So you just kind of like Zada Hedron Grinder with the creation of the balloons. You're going to make a whole party of balloons with Agrus. And then lots of additional draw in the deck outside of the ETB. So Welcoming Vampire and Takasha's Welcome let you draw once a turn for low to the ground cards that come into play. Unexpected Windfall and Big Score let you draw 2 apiece, and they're making 2 treasures. Thrill of Possibility and Demand Answers, kind of just normal instant red draw here. And then Pirates Pillage and Seize the Spoils are making you treasures as well as letting you draw. And then even more draw on the deck, so Mentor of the Meek, you can pay 1 when each of these balloons comes in to draw a card. Skull Clamp, you can kill the balloons to draw 2 cards. Staff of the Storyteller lets you draw once a turn when a creature enters by removing a story counter. Idol of Oblivion lets you tap to draw if you made a token, which is all we're going to be doing. Ravenous Amulet says you can sack a creature to draw, and then you get to put a soul counter on this, and you can sack that artifact to drain everybody for however many soul counters it had. Rumor Gatherer, very similar to other cards here off of the ETB. The second one lets you draw a card and then grab the prize. It's got a clown on it, so why wouldn't we include it in our Jolly Balloon Man deck for more draw? And then removal in the deck, we're running a lot of decent removal here to make sure the board stays clear for our own strategy. So Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile let you exile a creature. Stroke of Midnight, Generous Gift, and Chaos Warp all help you deal with problem permanents. Blasphemous Act is our board wipe. And then Deflecting Palm, if you're going to take damage from a source, you can redirect that damage back to that source's controller. So if someone's going to hit you with a 10/10 creature, you can redirect that 10 back to them. And then lots of mana in the deck as well. So we're running a Soul Rain and an Arcane Signet as well as a Boris Signet. We're running a Wayfarer's Bauble to fetch us lands. Ornithopter of Paradise is our only dork. And then Patriarch Seal lets you tap for any color, but it also lets you untap the Jolly Balloon Man, so you can get an additional trigger there. And then Curse Mirror, when it enters, it can copy something, so any of your ETB things, or even any other creature that's on the field, it can copy, and then it's just a mono red rock for the remainder of the game. And with that, our show has come to an end. Thank you so much for watching our video, and if you enjoyed that video, feel free to share it out with any friends who might find value in it as well. Thank you so much for stopping by. We hope to see you again soon. Have a good one.